So, I've been asking around, and the public opinion is in on the Quickfix, and they do not like it. But all I'm here to do today is to ask you to give it one more chance. Now, I'll admit it, at first, I didn't like it either. Honestly, I thought it was too weak. I mean, the Uber doesn't make me a god amongst men, or allow us to rip and tear into it. Sorry about that. Or let me play rock, paper, scissors with the enemy team while they slowly become the most coordinated team on the planet to stop me. But as I used it more and more, I noticed something. It's not meant for the huge displays where you take out 4 level 3s and blow through 3 sticky traps. Hell, it can struggle with 1 level 3 if you're not careful, but I'll go over that later. It's more meant for keeping everyone around you in tip-top shape. Now, the Quickfix's biggest strength is its plus 40% heal rate. That's fucking insane if you think about it. Now, while you're in a fight that's around 33 hit points per second you're regenerating, that means any class with 125 HP takes roughly 4 seconds to get them to full health from 1 HP. Even 2 seconds after you heal them, they'll be able to survive another base melee hit with 1 life remaining. Any class with 200 HP or less takes about 6 seconds to get them fully healed versus Talk being around 9 seconds. This being in combat, which if it takes that long, you need to either find a new pocket or just keep fucking shit up. Now, there's a lot of times where you're not in a fight, and if you didn't know this, tf2 has this mechanic that when you're not in a fight, medic heals faster. Way faster. Talking 200% faster. That bumps the Quickfix's heal rate up to 100 hit points per second. That's a heavy back in the fight ready to roll after half a sandwich break. Any class besides heavy is fully healed in 2 seconds. Think about that for 2 seconds. Oh, look! You're fully healed with a little bit of overheal on the top. Sorry, I get a little passionate about this weapon. People just need to treat it with the love and respect it deserves. But speaking of the overheal, it's not that great. You only dish out 50% of the overheal that you normally would with stock. I know, it's a little embarrassing. That's still more than base health, and if someone can't win a 1v1 with more than base health, that's on them. That's for the people who blame the medic, by the way, when they die. I'm looking at you. Honestly, that debuff, you probably won't even notice it. Sure, everyone else will, your team's gonna, but as long as your team is staying in fights, it doesn't matter, because you'll get them to full HP with a little on the top for them to run back into fights as if nothing happened. Something that's really nice about this is that if you're pocketing someone, your Uber gain rate stays the exact same, unlike stock, which has a slight drop down in its Uber rate gain, if your pocket is at max overheal, since your target isn't at max overheal. Most of the time, because the Quickfix can maintain overheal from the other mediguns, it just can't ever heal back up to that point, but you will gain a consistent rate of Uber otherwise. And how can I not mention the movement that this medigun provides medic? It lets medic fly like a goddamn bird. It is amazing. Whenever you're healing a soldier, demo, or pyro, you get to filch some of their blast movements. You'll go flying right alongside them. Warning about this though, you will go in the direction you're looking when you're healing a demo knight. I've died many times because of this. But other than that, it gives medic just such a whole new level of movement, and it just lets him keep up with the team so well. You do need to time it a bit carefully though when your pocket is going to be jumping around, otherwise you won't go very far, so make sure you're reading your pocket carefully if they like to jump around, otherwise you'll go flying straight up in the air 9 out of 10 times and be some free skeet practice for the other team.
Easier. Perhaps you'd call one for me.
Of course. Four!
Seems terribly difficult. No, it isn't, is it?
But the absolute icing on this cake for this absolute beast of a medigun so far is that you gain Uber way faster than stock. It only takes 37 seconds with a constant rate of healing, assuming your team has been constantly damaged. But let's say they're not hurt and your team is in perfect health because you're a kick-ass medic. Well, it takes 74 seconds, which is pretty damn good in comparison of stock, which is normally 40 to 80 seconds. I couldn't find anything on it, but I feel like it gets Uber twice as fast. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that, but I feel like I can just hand Ubers out with the quick fix like it's candy. I can use them for pretty much any situation I'd like to. Now, I suppose I should talk about the Uber. The Uber. God, what's not to love?
It's good, except
Whoa,
it sucks.
Shut up. Just because it doesn't make you invulnerable or give you 3 times damage doesn't mean it's bad. But what it does give you and your team is 8 seconds where you heal at 300% speed. You need to hold this on any class for maybe 2 seconds. And besides a heavy, and they'll be fully healed. 8 people can get splashed from a crit rocket, and if you Uber right after, it's like that crit never happened if you flicker your Uber on all your teammates. But you don't have to disperse your Uber either. It's also great for a pocket. Now, they still run the risk of dying to a random crit or just too much burst damage, so please, don't be scared to grab your mic. Take a nice, deep breath and calmly... Nah, fuck that. It's tf2. Grab your microphone and shout, "You're not immortal." Back the fuck up for half a second. Because one thing I will say the quick fix is not great for is level 3 sentries. Any class can still take one out during the Uber, but depending on how far it is, it vastly varies in how effective it can be. Sometimes it's great just to close the gap and to get into some cover while you wait for another Uber to rush it again, but sometimes it's just not the minigun you want to use. Now, the main thing that gets you with the level 3 sentry is the rockets. Now, if you can have a pyro reflect those, or you're able to dodge those, the Quick Fix's Uber is normally able to tank through the bullet damage, and you should be able to destroy the sentry. However, if there is an engineer repairing it, you have to kill that engineer, but that's probably going to be your only objective during that Uber, and you'll just have to take the sentry out a little bit later. Now, pretty much any class other than heavy, you will need to step forward a little bit as medic and tank some of the damage during the Uber if you do want to take on the level 3 sentry. You need to tiptoe right next to them and evenly spread the damage between the two of you while your pocket focuses on the sentry gun. But if the enemy team is just primarily NG stacking, you're probably just going to need to switch off Quick Fix or just suck it up. With the Quick Fix in comparison of other Ubers, my survivability rate feels 10 times higher, and it's 100% thanks to the fact that when you Uber, you also get to feed off that delicious 300% healing rate you're dishing out to your team, keeping you at a crisp 187 HP. So if you ever need to pop an Uber to save your life, you should hopefully be able to walk just right out of there. Wanna know why you can just walk right out of there? See that sexy line of text right there? See that? That line is what makes this Uber S tier. You got a pyro that knows how to do their job and shoves you away every goddamn time you Uber? Maybe it's a loose cannon demo. It keeps knocking your team around, just causing a bunch of disorder. I think I know a quick fix to those solutions.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Okay, bad joke. Can you blame a guy? It was right there. You can panic pop Ubers on yourself all the time, and it's honestly completely fine. You got 50 life? Pop that Uber. You got 90 life and a demo jumps around the corner? Pop that Uber. You got 150 life and you see that god of snipers on the other map? Scope in, pop that Uber. If you were to Uber to save a teammate with a quick fix, which is how I personally use the Ubers, I rarely use them for huge pushes, why wouldn't you pop it to save your life? You get so many goddamn Ubers with this medigun, you won't know what to do with them, so just go crazy. I don't recommend popping them at every minor inconvenience, but me and my friends do have this term for an Uber we didn't need to use, but we used anyways. We call it a fuck you Uber, which is perfect for quick quicks. Also Kritzkrieg, but different day, you know? What is a fuck you Uber, you may be asking? Well, we see someone who's playing peekaboo with us, someone who's running away, or we honestly just think it would be really funny to make them think, why the hell did they Uber for just me? Okay, I'm sorry. There is something I just have to mention. I've just been gritting my teeth not talking about it. So you know how for a typical medic Uber chain it takes 2 medics and 2 stock mediguns to keep you both alive and rolling? What if I told you Quick Fix got rid of that problem and you could do it all by yourself, and oh, does it do it well? I call this self-chaining, and the longest self-chain I've ever gotten was over 1.5 minutes, Would you ever see a medic doing a self-Uber chain with stock for over a goddamn minute outside your spawn doors? The only reason you get away with it is because it keeps you at 170 HP during your Uber, if you play your cards right. You will need to play a mix of like extreme aggression and extreme cowardice. It's a very fine balance. You need to secure at least one hit every time you put that medigun away though, otherwise you'll lose your Uber. The movement immunity as well does make this a dream, since pyro soldiers or demos can't just bully you away from them, and you'll be able to tank some rockets and pills. Not all of them, you'll still need to make sure you're dodging, but while you're self-chaining, everyone wants to take a bite out of you, and you can use this to your advantage to just keep that chain rolling, since everyone keeps praying to God you'll die soon. All you gotta do is play corners pretty aggressively to get them into Ubersaw range, or if you're feeling brave and it's not a heavy, you might be able to close the gap between them and just straight up start beating them to death with the Ubersaw. No one ever expects a medic to do this shit, by the way. The amount of times I've done this and gotten away with it just isn't right. Make sure if you are going to do this though that you are popping at the right time, because if you pop too early then you're just going to lose your Uber, then you're going to be a duck in the water, but you also don't want to pop too late. Now I'd recommend if you're going to be fighting a power class, just pop the second you see him and you're able to close the gap, but if you're fighting a lighter class you can kind of play in the waters a bit more, see how the fight goes before you decide if you want to Uber or not. But once you get this chain rolling, it is going to take some practice before you get good grasp on how long your Ubers are, because it does get hard to keep track once you get the 30 to 45 second mark. But once you get this down, you'll be an unstoppable medic, because as long as you don't get crit or attacked by like 4 to 5 people with primaries, you should honestly be fine, and if a fight gets too hairy, you can just walk away. They can't legally keep you there. Take this with a grain of salt, but even 4 to 5 people you might be able to take on if you're competent enough. It's just pretty much like you get to fight like your own personal resupply cabinet, and the enemies are just your ammo refill. Okay, I will admit the first few times you do this, it might not go how you're imagining it will, but just practice for a while, and I just know you medic mains won't be taking shit no more. It took me a lot of time before I was able to do it constantly and walk away with my life, but even if I died normally, I still normally took a few people down with me, which is enough to get this addiction rolling, because holy shit, once it works, it's hard to stop. I sometimes have to stop myself while healing my team from doing it because it's just so much fun. It's probably the most fun I can have as medic, and I can't really put it into words because it's just something you have to experience firsthand to know how awesome it feels. Like, after you get your first Uber to over 30 seconds, you won't even care about heroin anymore because it's literally nothing in comparison. In my personal opinion, this is the only medigun that can self-chain effectively, because let's be real, if we ever see a VAC or Kritzkrieg medic self-chaining, we need to block them on all platforms because that person is mentally unwell. Now sure, stock is nice, you can't take any damage and you won't die to crits while you're in Uber, that's dope. But what is everyone going to do while you're in that Uber? A. Run away. B. Wait until you pull out your Uber saw and rip you to shreds. C. Scream in fear. I'll give you a second to decide. B. They're going to rip you to shreds. Now, with Quickfix, everyone is still trying to get you, which allows you to take advantage of reload gaps, pull out your saw, and do some quick surgeries. Okay, I'm going to move on now because I could easily sit here and talk all day about self-chaining and just how much fun it is and just how addicting it is, but I can't, so I'm going to move on to when you should and when you shouldn't use the Quick Fix. Now, each minigun has its moments, each meant for a specific task, and the Quick Fix isn't really hyper-specified into one of those categories, so it can be difficult sometimes when deciding which minigun to use. Team is grouping up and sticking close to you, the Quick Fix thrives best in this, because as I've said before, you just gotta keep them all in tip-top shape, and other miniguns require a bit of a line to be formed, and tf2 players do not like waiting in line to be healed. Quick Fix is like the VIP pass for your team's healing, so that way they get to skip straight to the front of the line, no waiting. Let's say on the contrary though, they're all over the place, all on their own little adventures. Well, Quick Fix is still good for this, but not quite as good as stock. It's good for the quick top-off for the stragglers you'll run across while sticking with someone else, but other than that, I'd say you stalker Kritzkrieg. But if everyone is scattered, I'd recommend just sticking with like a soldier or a demo man so that way you can still be moving around the map quickly, so that way you can stay in the general area of your team. Quickfix is really good if your team is locked down at a choke point, but it's really bad at breaking a lock on a choke point if your team isn't working together, just because the high burst damage that inherently follows a choke point, and you're honestly just going to need stock Uber to get through that type of situation. But Quickfix's strength in choke points is more in holding them down. You know, making sure everybody's alive and everybody's there to fight, but you're probably just going to be holding that choke point. I'm also going to go over the medic versus medic application. Now, if there's another medic on the other team, Quickfix should hopefully outpace them and allow your team to constantly keep the pressure on the other team, so that way they can hopefully grab and pluck the other medic. But that's if it all goes according to plan, so let's be real, that won't happen a lot. But if you're the type of person and you count Ubers, Quickfix will always win that race. That's why it's actually banned and competitive, because it gets Ubers so much faster than stock. Quickfix is also good at making it seem like an enemy Uber never even happened if you pop shortly after they do it, and just make sure you flash everybody to keep everybody at full health. The amount of Ubers that you can waste with your Quickfix's Uber is kind of hilarious. Unless it's Chris Krieg, I'd recommend just running for your fucking life. A huge benefit of the Quickfix versus another medic who isn't using it is that your heal rate outpaces theirs by a lot. So your pocket should win most of those fights, especially in those heavy v heavy fights. If you have to go over the peak time that you should be using the Quickfix, and the best time to be using it is during what me and my friends call the orbit. Is pretty self-explanatory. It's when people follow the medic like glue with Quickfix. They can all feel like they're being pocketed. Once an orbit starts, you just need to keep them alive and you'll have the goddamn Secret Service protecting you. Now, any class is good in orbit, but the dream is like a heavy, pyro, and a scout. This is just so clean, and it fills pretty much every role you would need. Heavy can target the biggest threats. Pyro has that great crowd control and can keep people away from you and making sure you're put out at the same time. And the scout is just great to rush down the back lines while the pyro and heavy mop up the front. Orbit, the more the merrier. In fact, if the whole team wants to orbit me, please do. I thrive in that shit as medic. Just make sure you're keeping your healing priorities straight in the orbit. You're pretty much pocketing everyone in the orbit by abusing the Quickfix's insane heal rate. I'll make sure to heal whoever took damage most recently, but if we're not in a fight or we're fresh out of one, I'd recommend getting one tank up to full health and making sure all the small classes in your orbit are topped off, and then moving on to the rest of the orbit. One class I do not like seeing in my orbit, more so as subclass, Demo Knights. Demo Knights will fucking hurl you like a bowling ball towards the entire enemy team and destroy your orbit. Don't get me wrong, the Demo Knight plays a vital role in the orbit, acting as the comet of the orbit that flies so far away you forget it exists, then randomly pops back in for 10 seconds and is gone again. But normally they're wreaking havoc in a big bubble around you, keeping you safe from the random flanks and giving you an early warning when they charge around the corner with 5 life, calling for medic, looking like they just saw death himself. Be at the point where you're asking yourself, well, what the hell does this have to do with Quickfix? You can get an orbit with any of the mini-guns, but the others just can't keep up like Quickfix can, especially in those big conflicts where everybody's getting hurt a little bit and, you kind of need to make sure everybody's staying alive. The other mini-guns just can't compete with that, and it's just, I'm going to go back to my previous point of how Quickfix, it skips the line for your team. Okay, so I'm just going to take like a quick moment to talk about the dream blunt rotation of the orbit of just like, if you had one of every class, what would be the best position for them to be filling? So personally, I'd say it would be a scout with Mad Milk, a pyro with anything that can extinguish and not a back scratcher, a soldier, any of the banners, but honestly, Battalion's backup would be the best choice just for the protection against crits. Demo Man would be good. I'd honestly say just a sticky demo would be the best for it, just for the area control or the quick emergency spams. Then heavy just needs to be a heavy. Hopefully have a lunchbox item so that way you can get your lunch breaks in, so you don't have to Uber to heal yourself. Engineer with a short circuit, just mwah. Maybe the Widowmaker if the engineer's competent enough to balance the two, so that way he's like incredibly self-sufficient, and like if they also have the Gunslinger, then that is just a totally isolated engineer that's in the orbit, but still vital. Another medic, as long as they don't have Quickfix, it's fine. Like, it's honestly perfect. Sniper, bow, or silly SMG strategy, but if you got a sniper that can aim, make sure you're healing him, man. He's just as important. And then spy, as long as they disguise and they're willing to go and sap the sentry, they're doing a great job for the orbit. I just gotta mention this as like an honorable mention. You guys knew it was coming at some point. Crusader's crossbow. Yeah, I know it's not Quickfix, but if you put these two together, your pocket will be unstoppable. All you need to do is the second your pocket's health becomes a little red, nail them with a bolt, put the Quickfix on them for a second again, and they will be good as new. And if you're healing a heavy who's in those constant fights, you'll heal thousands of health in like less than a minute. It's honestly insane. You know what? Here, don't take it from me. Why don't you take it from my friend Snipes who mains heavy?
In my experience, as being healed by all kinds of mediguns and different medics, the Quickfix is by far the best, okay? My personal favorite is the Kritzkrieg. That's just kind of like murder, okay? I'm the spawn camping heavy, okay? But the Quickfix is the thing that I like to be used when up against actual hard players. The Kritzkrieg and Medigun don't do it as well because a lot of players know how to counter that. But there's not really a direct counter to the Quickfix besides a fully charged headshot. And I gotta say, it's just, I don't know how to describe it, it's just the best Medigun in my opinion, okay? Especially that anti-air blast and just resistance when you're Ubered. Makes it so I can get in front of people's faces. Okay. When I get Ubered as normal with normal minigun, I have to run after them. And as heavy, that's the worst thing ever because they're gonna outrun you. But with the Quickfix, they still think they have a chance, so they're still gonna fight. And that's the worst thing you can do in tf2 is underestimate something. People overestimate the minigun. Everyone underestimates the Quickfix.
Sorry, I got a little off topic there at the end. I just felt that was something that needed to be talked about, though. But this was the first time I've ever really made a video like this, so I hope you enjoyed. It was a lot of fun making it, and I got to learn a few things as medic in the process. Now, if this video made you want to use the Quickfix, that's great to hear. I really hope you enjoy it. It's my personal favorite medigun, and I've just been obsessed with it ever since I got used to it. But if I wasn't able to convince you, I'm sorry to hear that you'll never get to know the true joys and happiness as a medic. But to be honest, I don't have anything else left to talk about. I just hope that after this video, and if you made it this far, you've considered giving the Quickfix another chance. I wish you all a fantastic day, and I will see you when I see you.